You're listening to Three's a Crowd, the North East Footy Podcast, with Rye for Borough, Steve for Newcastle United, and Ted for Sunderland.
Good afternoon, beautiful people of this beautiful Wednesday. We have organised a special weekday request on the back of Ted. I mean, I didn't want to be here. Steve didn't want to be here, but Ted's like, oh, we've got to talk about a midweek. I'm like, Ted, bloody hell, you know what I mean? Like, and he's like, and I'm like running home from work and I'm running late. And Ted's you know what I mean? Like, welcome on in. It was so good to have you. Thanks for joining us for a midweek special. We have got a lot to talk about. It is obviously the final eve of the championship, a massive, massive Saturday. It's obviously an early kickoff, so we thought we'd do a midweek one to preview everything that could happen for Middlesbrough. Obviously, Newcastle and Sunderland have played on the weekend as well. We will talk about that, but it is a special championship wrap-up because, lads, last night we saw Ipswich Town play Southampton. It finished in a 2-2 draw, which somehow, out of all of the craziness of the championship, still gives Middlesbrough the slimmest of hopes. 3 teams can do it. Millwall, Ipswich Town, and Middlesbrough. They can join Coventry City in the Premier League, finishing in second. What needs to happen? Well, I'm glad you asked. On the final day, if Middlesbrough were to do it, they would need Ipswich Town to lose, and they would need Millwall to lose as well. Could they take a draw? They could take a draw from Millwall, but not from Ipswich due to the goal difference. So Middlesbrough also then need to win. The teams are obviously Middlesbrough travelling to Wrexham to play Disney FC. Millwall are at home to Oxford United, and Ipswich Town are at home to QPR. Teddy boy, the championship serves us up some delicious final days year after year after year. To be a part of this one, mate, my nerves are shot. I don't know what I'm doing this week. At work, I almost quit yesterday because I'm that much of a nervous wreck. It's absolutely incredible. I don't know how, after the run we had, pretty much once Hayden Hackney got injured, to still be within it, mate. I mean, Ipswich Town, 81 points. They versed QPR. Now, QPR, I believe, are already on the beach. Millwall are playing Oxford. Oxford have already been relegated to League One. Who do Middlesbrough have? Well, we have to go to Wrexham, who are in 6th place. I mean, it's the hope that kills me, Ted, but we're still within a chance.
Of course you are, mate. Of course you are. It's the most interesting time of the season for me, and it's great that there's still a little bit left to play for. I'm talking about from my perspective, as an independent on this. For you and the Borough fans must be absolutely going through it because it's so tantalisingly close that you can still get second place and go up automatically. But everything kind of points to the playoffs at this moment in time. But you never know, mate. We've seen incredible last days of the season in football. Whether you're looking at the Premier League and Aguero, but then you've got the likes of the big Troy Deeney goal for Watford against Leicester those few years ago. Football creates magic moments, and I'm not just talking about the ancient song that I can't even remember who sang it now. Max Bygraves. Wow, I know my history. Max Bygraves in the afternoon. He's like, woohoo! This is me with coffee. Normally it's on a morning. You're getting full unadulterated Ted now. That's it.
Full Ted.
Full of sugar. No, mate, listen, I'm optimistic for Borough. I really am. You've got a tough ask because, Wrexham really, really need this. Big Night just put in there as well. Just look at York. Look at York City and look at the scenes there. But Steve sent us the message through and looking at the reaction there. That's exactly what can happen though, mate. And you don't rule anything out on the last game of the season. It's been, aside from that blip, you've overcome a rat of a manager leaving after he promised you the earth. You've embedded a great young coach in Kim Hellberg. For me, I think is a superb young coach and got a big future ahead of him. You've ridden the wave of adversity, and you're still in there with a really good shout. You've been hit by the injuries. There's so many parallels with Sunderland's season last season, mate.
Yeah,
I've just got a positive feeling for you. Whether it's whether it's you go up on the last day automatically and you somehow find a way to do it, or whether it's through the playoffs. I've just got an optimistic feeling about it, mate. So, yeah, I'm willing you all the way because I want this show to be a Premier League show next season. Absolutely, 100%. So, yeah, I'm nailing my colours to the Borough mast, 100% for this.
Steve, we've been speaking about it all season, mate, about the chances of it being a full Premier League trio next season. Middlesbrough sitting in second for the majority of the season, trying to keep up with Coventry. Obviously, we had that dip in form, which did drop us out. But somehow, some way, mate, we are still mathematically able to do it on this final day. Ipswich Town on 81 points, Millwall on 80, Middlesbrough on 79. If the gods are willing and Ipswich Town and Millwall lose and Middlesbrough make it, I can't remember in Middlesbrough's history a more typical Borough thing to do than to win it like that.
Yeah, I mean, it would be, wouldn't it? It's such a crying shame you had that blip, because it was a blip. You played well all season, despite the curveballs that injuries have caused for you this season. But, you know, from my perspective, for it to go to the last game is an achievement for Borough. They got back on track right at the death. And, you know, you've just got to hope that if you do get a miracle, you know, that will take you into the Premier League. If you don't, then at least you're going into the playoffs on some good form, because we weren't, you know, it didn't look like you were going to do that, you know. And we were talking a couple of weeks ago, I was suggesting that you did what Sunderland did last year, which is like rest players and hope for the best. But yeah, look, the flip side is find some form going into the playoffs and carry it on in the playoffs and get promoted. And, you know, what can happen on the weekend is, you know, it would be great. You know, that's the whole point we've done this show and continue to do this show after we left the radio, is because, you know, we wanted to, you know, give a positive message across North East football. We can all take the mick out of each other. We can all have a laugh at each other's misfortunes. But we, you know, me and Ted are both wanting, you know, we both want to see Middlesbrough in the Premier League and join Newcastle and Sunderland, because it's great. It hasn't happened for so long. It's you know, it's almost a generation of football fans wouldn't have known this. No. It's almost a generation now of fans. So yeah, you know, I'll have my prayer mat out, you know, at 12:30, I think it is, at the weekend. It is, and hoping that you can do it. And then if you don't do it, bring on the playoffs. Some cracking teams are going to be in the playoffs, no matter who it is.
It's going to be very obviously interesting to see how it does shape up for the playoffs. Obviously, Teddy Boy, Sunderland doing it last season. You've got the full experience against Coventry with the Dan Ballard header. Middlesbrough obviously won't have Coventry. They've already been promoted. But the likes of Southampton, who are in there, Millwall, who are in there, we don't know. It could be between Hull, Wrexham, and Derby County as well, taking that final 6th spot. So they've got a battle for that 6th spot. Wrexham are coming in to this game needing a win to secure their first playoff appearance in the first time of asking in the Championship as well. It's going to be tantalising just even thinking about that. I mean, and anything can happen in the playoffs. We know that, can't we? And I feel like, as much as we want to say the form goes into it and everything like that, but we hope and we pray that going into the playoffs, anything can happen. I mean, Middlesbrough could be at Wrexham playing Wrexham 3 times in a row, for all goodness sake. I mean, if not, we could be playing Ipswich Town if Millwall were to get promoted. And wouldn't the EPL love a Millwall team in there taking over, West Ham's position or something like that potentially? It's all got absolute carnage written over it, mate. And 12:30 p.m. on Saturday is going to be the deadline. As a man who's just recently gone through playoffs with Sunderland, what advice can you give to the Middlesbrough fans who are daring to dream that they don't have to do it, but inevitably you would think the realistic nature is that we will be in the playoffs over 2 legs, potentially home and away, if not away and home? How do we deal with the nerves, mate, going over those 2 legs?
It's all about patience, to be honest. You don't have to play well to get through the playoffs. We played 1 good game in 3 in the playoffs, and that was the first leg away at Coventry. Played really well there. I don't think we played well. People forget this because of the Dan Ballard goal. We didn't actually play all that well during that game. It was very cagey. We had to engage in a bit of the dark arts and moving the advertising Horden's forwards and all that kind of thing. We forget all of that because the result is what matters, of course. But yeah, listen, you don't have to play well, and that's the biggest thing to remember. It's having patience. It's our mantra. It still is to this day, is till the end, and it is all about that. because you could play absolutely naff for 119 minutes and bang in a goal right at the death, mate. And that's what you've got me. What on earth was that?
I'm busy trying to start the trolls now because of this stupid midweek show. It's your fault.
Tell us about it. I'm probably going to be out 3 tickets on the way back for that. Christ.
Wasn't Jimmy Hill?
Yeah, listen, not yet. No, mate. You've just got to be, the fans have got to be patient and realise this is all about the end result. And performances go out the window. The form goes completely out the window as well. We arrived into those playoffs, as Steve's mentioned, in absolutely awful form, but it was all part of a master plan with Regis Labrise kind of plotting the demise of Coventry and Sheffield United, rather. Sorry. So yeah, listen. You've got to have faith in your manager. He knows what he's doing. For all he's only a young lad, just back them 100%. Be very, very patient. No sneaking off out 5 minutes before the end or anything daft like that. Back them completely right till the final whistle.
Yeah, it's going to be exactly what Middlesbrough need to do. Obviously, we haven't been performing well at home for the back half of the season, but we're hoping that the likes of Hayden Hackney, Riley McGree, potentially Riley McGree back in the hot seat this weekend, and if not for the playoffs. But obviously, Middlesbrough still have the chance to avoid the playoffs completely, and I cannot believe it after the run we've had, and I don't think any Borough fan could believe it as recently as what has just happened. It's going to
Why does that look like Beavis stuff?
I can't believe it, Borough fans. And look, we're going to talk more about it as the show goes on. But obviously, the draw last night has confirmed that Middlesbrough still have a chance. Ipswich and Southampton failing to get what they needed to get done yesterday. A 2-2 draw means that Ipswich Town, Millwall, and Middlesbrough will play out for that second spot on the final day of the season. Ipswich Town are at home to QPR, Millwall are at home to Oxford United, and Middlesbrough are away to Wrexham. If the football gods weren't kind enough, that fixture is absolutely horrid. But we'll see how we go. Dare to dream, as the boys said. Let's move on because we've got to talk Sunderland and Newcastle as well. It's a special midweek edition. We are coming to you live because the weekend's going to be packed with, obviously, we're going to see we're going to see the likes of a 12:30 p.m. kickoff for every team in the championship. So we had to get in with a midweek show for the championship final. Incredibly, that Middlesbrough still in the chance, but we did have some football over the weekend, lads. Unfortunately, Teddy boy, Newcastle lost again. Okay, I know you're sad about it. All right, I know you're upset. Okay, I don't know what else to say. Do you know what I mean? But I believe, Steve, that Eddie Howe is in town, obviously in London town, to meet with the owners who have flown in. The rumors are circling like crazy, like wildfire. But apparently, from the resources and everything that's coming out of the club is that it's a normal, already planned meeting with Eddie Howe. Is his head on the chopping block, mate?
I wouldn't say so. No, I mean the meeting's up here. It's in the north.
It's an unfortunate turn of phrase, meeting Saudi owners, liking it.
It's not. It's not in London. It's in the northeast. I mean, obviously, everyone was saying it was at Matford Hall. You know, whether it is or not, I don't know. But look, it's a meeting which they have every season, and this one will, not be as pleasant as the one they had last season because obviously we'd won the Carabao Cup. This season will be, more of a meeting about what's gone wrong and how do we fix it. So. Look, Newcastle against Arsenal was a defeat. Yes, it was a defeat, but there was shoots of life. There was signs there that the team haven't got the flip-flops on. They are going to give it a go in the last 4 games. That coincided with Bruno coming back into the team, who is our creative player. He's everything buzzes around him. So from my point of view, with Bruno on the pitch, I am a bit more confident that Newcastle United can find something out of these last 4 games. There are points to be had, and this team can get points. The Anthony Gordon situation, which has been hanging over the club, seems as if there's been some kind of resolve. Of course, Eddie Howe said he was injured last weekend and the weekend before. It appears that he probably will be fit enough to play this weekend. If he is, we need Anthony Gordon fully focused on Newcastle United not fully focused on Anthony Gordon. And we need to make sure that Eddie gets the team right. There was a lot of us scratching our heads, including me last weekend when I saw the lineup. And I genuinely felt that the lineup was suicidal. It was almost as if he was writing a resignation note, but he got it right. It was, we got beat, but look at the stats. Newcastle had, equal shots on goal, more or less, with Arsenal, if not slightly more. They had the lion's share of the possession, but it was that same old problem. They couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. And I think, Newcastle's, inadequacy in front of goal, Arsenal's nervousness, I think those two things combined to make it a pretty interesting game. But, we lost it. We now have Brighton coming up this weekend, and, we know our record against Brighton's awful. So everyone is looking at that thinking we're probably going to lose that game as well. So all eyes are really then on, your West Ham and your Forest games, the two games against relegation battlers this season. Forest look as if they're going to get out of it. West Ham, of course, are still in the thick of it. It's such an interesting time. Do I think his head's on the on the chopping block, as you say? I don't think it is. I do think we're going to go down this route of this is your the good faith that you built up with winning the cup in your previous 4 years. That's now elapsed. You're past this. You're using your free pass here. At the end of the season, there needs to be a clear out. You need to be working with Ross Wilson. We need to be bringing in the right kind of players. And moving forward, you will be in charge next season. It puts us in a Kenny Dalglish type of situation. And what do I mean by that? Well, that was, Kenny Dalglish got us to an FA Cup final, which we lost. We finished 13th in the league. He was given the opportunity to manage the team and have a transfer window the following season, and Newcastle was struggling from the off. We had to replace Kenny Dalglish with Ruud Gullit, and the rest is history. And that's where you start to get in the tricky waters, dangerous waters. Look at Man United and Spurs, two completely conflicting fortunes. Man United have chopped and changed, and at the minute it looks as if they found a manager who gets it and can do it. An ex-Borough manager, of course, Michael Carrick, Geordie, Newcastle fan. But it looks as if they've finally found one. Spurs, though, who've chopped and changed, are knee deep in a relegation fight and look as if they could be the team to go, it has to be said. So for me, Newcastle, if they do decide to chop out at the end of the season or at the start of next season, if he gets off to a bad start, the most important thing is the football club and who they appoint next. And managerial jobs and managers come and go. We need to get it right.
Teddy boy, Newcastle are on the edge of being dragged into this relegation battle. I mean, as funny as it is, 42 points isn't looking like it's going to be enough. They do get to play, as Steve rightly said, Nottingham Forest and West Ham over the next space of the 4 games. But 42 points, mate, doesn't seem safe at the moment as being enough.
Did you hear that as well?
To not get dragged in.
Pretty big flies in Australia.
I thought it was on. I thought it was happening. We'd hit the button. But obviously, Newcastle getting dragged into a relegation battle. I don't think they go and sack Eddie Howe, but I mean, it realistically could be something they could do. West Ham are picking up points. Tottenham have picked up their first win. Whether they go on a bounce or not, we don't know. Tottenham's still seemingly struggling. Nottingham Forest are pulling away. Obviously, they have got Brighton. Then they've got the Nottingham Forest, then West Ham. And Newcastle are at any... is there a threat?
No, no threat of getting into the relegation battle, mate. Now, I think they're out of it completely. I think it'll be more about the tone it creates in finishing the season if they don't pick up the form. And Steve will know what I mean by this, because there's nothing worse than the last game of the season and everybody having a grumble as they leave the ground. It leaves you feeling flat going into the summer, and we've been there plenty of times as well. I think it's all about showing a bit of will to get at least above Sunderland. As daft as it sounds, and I know it's not every Geordie's be all and end all to finish above or below us. But at the same time, I think that's probably a decent target for them to kind of try and go for. I think Europe's gone now for them. It's all about saving face and turning some performances in now, to be honest, because there's a few people who'll be playing for their place in next season's squad. Steve's already mentioned at the weekend about the age of the squad at Newcastle. It's getting to that age now where there's going to be a turnover of staff. So if they're serious about staying at Newcastle, and why wouldn't you want to play for a big Northeast club? The fans absolutely adore you. It's time to use an old expression from my dad. It's time to shit or get off the potty, because they haven't turned in convincing performances of late, and they're not the only team to do that. But relegation, nah. It's all about giving the fans something to crow about now, and potentially saving Eddie's job as well, because I think it'd be a real shame if he lost his job. He's a good coach, and you've got to be careful what you wish for, because there ain't a lot to choose from out there at the moment.
And just for viewers, Rye, that phrase is said to Ted on a regular basis.
This, like, to be fair, I've got IBS.
He rushes home to get this. I tell you, poor old Teddy boy. Obviously, Newcastle have got Brighton to come this weekend, and we will look at that in the second half of the show. But Newcastle's woes need to stop, and they need to stop now. And Eddie Howe, obviously, as Steve said, is in meeting with the owners today. And we'll see what comes of that, and I'm sure it'll be widely reported. Over to the Mackems, Teddy boy. Obviously, we've spoken in depth already on the last show about that loss to Nottingham Forest, but coming up against Wolves, mate, this weekend, you travel obviously to the Molineux. It's going to be interesting to see. I want to get your take on this, mate. Now, Roy Keane, obviously, we all know who Roy Keane is. If you don't, you're under a rock. Roy Keane said the Premier League signing of the season was Granit Xhaka, and I believe that it is. And you look at maybe Semenyo, but he obviously went in January. You look at some other, some of these signings that Man City made that turned their, they have Guehi as well. I mean, he's solidified their defense and pushing Arsenal right to the thing. But for me, I think the standout signing of the season in the Premier League has to be your captain and now Granit Xhaka. I mean, he has been absolutely clinical. Would you agree in what Roy Keane had to say there?
I think it's hard not to agree with it, to be honest, because it's not just about the performances. I've said this a few times on the show as well, but he's transformed the mentality of the club.
Yeah,
and it's just such a step up in standards. The only thing I can draw a comparison to this is when Roy Keane came in as manager, and Niall Quinn talked about that. And the first time he stepped onto the training pitch, he says he could see physically players grew about 3 inches, just like, they wanted to impress. And I honestly think that squad, the playing staff, it certainly want to impress him, and they want to kind of keep that captain that they've got and keep him happy, because he's just driving standards in a way that we've never seen at this football club. And and I mean ever there, by the way, in my lifetime. He's incredible, mate. The way he speaks about the game, very, very humble guy. He's from a very much a working class background, which he identifies with the Northeast people, and certainly identifies with the people of Sunderland. That's why they've taken in their hearts. Signing of the season, 100%. That's not to say, mind, and something that came off the back of the game on Friday night, and I've seen a fair bit of it. People absolutely sticking it in Habib Diarra.
Yeah.
Obviously, the game against Aston Villa, he fluffed his lines a little bit in front of Emilio Martinez, but then absolutely just berating him for his performance against Nottingham Forest. There was 11 players on the pitch, and to be honest, the defenders are to blame for 9/10 of it. Habib Diarra is a 20-year-old kid, for God's sake. He didn't ask to be bought for 30 million. He's got plenty of time. And I'm going to use the other name that you've just mentioned as well. We had a certain kid on loan from Bristol City a few years back who everybody said, and I quote, was shite. And that's Antoine Semenyo, who's, I think he's done all right since then.
Yep, he's done all right.
Get off their backs a little bit. Graham's just saying Mucky Ellis been a real signing quality. Yeah. Couldn't agree more, mate. And that was down to Granit Xhaka.
Yep. Steve, outside looking in, Premier League signing of the season. I mean, see, there's still 4 games to go. There could be a player that, jumps out at us, but it's hard to go past Granit Xhaka. But as a Toon fan, that must be, a bit hard to swallow. But would you agree with Roy Keane's comments in midweek that Granit Xhaka is the Premier League signing of the season?
I mean, yeah, look, for the first half of the season, he carried Sunderland's, survival, because it was a survival. Coming into the Premier League for your first season is a survival season. It doesn't matter who you are. And he did it, and he got them to 40 points probably in record time. He's had injuries, a couple of niggles here and there, and he's been in and out of the team recently. And I think it's probably affected things. We all at the start of the season, including Ted, thought that AFCON would be the big blow. But at AFCON, with those players away, Sunderland just seemed to get stronger. So it's a strange one. And maybe the flip-flops were on slightly psychologically. Once you hit 40 points, it is difficult as a team to carry on the momentum out of all the cups as well. So there's nothing else to play for. But yeah, I mean, I think Xhaka has been probably one of them. And I know, when you look at the goalkeeper, Roofs, he's probably another one. But I dare say, there's probably other players, but none of them spring to mind in the Premier League for me. It's been a great season for Sunderland, and they want to go out on a high. I'm not sure they will, but the job's done. They now have second season syndrome on the horizon. What happens in the second season? Did they manage to bring in new players? They can do financially. We know that they don't have to play catch up yet with the financial rules. But what happens? And if there's new players come in, how does it upset the apple cart? Xhaka's a year older next season. And as much as the Sunderland fans will love him, another year in the Premier League, another year older. We've seen it happen with Newcastle. We hold on to players too long. So, yeah, but I wouldn't argue. Xhaka has been superb for Sunderland, and he's, it hasn't been a one-man mission, but, he's dragged them by the scruff of the neck through the Premier League season. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, definitely agree. And I think he's nail on the head. He's, for me, the Premier League signing of the season. I would dream if Middlesbrough were to do it to get someone like a Granit Xhaka into our rooms. I tell you that very much. So, lads, we have got Alan Brown. Yeah, true. We need him more than ever this weekend. We have reached the halfway point of the show. It's a special Three's a Crowd for you today. We are looking at the Championship playoff final this weekend. Obviously, Middlesbrough more likely into the playoffs, but it is the final day of the season to find out whether Middlesbrough are in the playoffs or can they get that illustrious second spot. It's going to be all coming down to the wire, but we need to sit back, relax, because my nerves are shot. I'm not talking correctly. It's time for Troll of the Week.
Big thanks to one of our viewers who sent this in. A sign that he's got hanging in his house about me. Steve, 100% all-round top bloke, never known to be wrong, outstandingly handsome, and definitely a bit special. Hold on a minute. Definitely a bit special. Can't afford an ancestry DNA kit to learn about your relatives. Simply post online that you've won the lottery. And just like that, all the Mackins disappeared.
All right.
Rod Stewart said he's feeling much better after suffering minor women's whiplash at Ronnie Wood's tribute concert. You can even see him here in A&E with his mother Moira.
Jesus Christ.
Rest in peace, Jimmy Carter. You were our most Scarlett Johansson looking president.
Jeez.
How does that? What a lookalike that is, lads. What a lookalike.
Jeez Louise.
In the words of Sean Locke.
Thanks for Jimmy
It's
Moore for this.
confusing.
Thanks to Jimmy Moore for this one. Sobies, happy Mother's Day. Great gifts for mums. Long English cucumbers. Jesus. I don't even recognise him. I don't know who that guy is. Who's he talking about? Of course, it's Rye's favourite manager. He talks like he swallowed a dictionary of long words. Sean Davis, another ex-teammate of Leroy Rossignol, who wasn't very happy and didn't understand why on earth he was going on the way he was when he was manager of Chelsea. I had to squeeze that one in. Fire for sale, the old proof, which started the fire at 7 Douglas Cottages, as reported last week, referred to an item of furniture and not the owner, Mr. Donny MacArthur. Thank you for clearing that up. And my favourite sexual fantasy is to be tossed off by Jeremy Beadle with his deformed hand, while 70s novelty pops does the worst. I'll sit around watching, occasionally moaning, ooh-ar, to heighten the erotic ambience. Can any of your readers beat that? NN, North Yorkshire. Thanks for that. And if Frank Lampard comes into us, I'll boycott every single game, said Window. This has been shared by so many Coventry fans in the course of the last few weeks. This has been brilliant. That was at the start of this, the start of Frank Lampard's managerial campaign. Superb. This one from Harkey. Joe Linton signed my Wembley Carabao Cup final seat. It got smashed off when Dan Burns' goal caused pandemonium. Managed to take the biggest chunk of what was left. Absolutely over the moon. Cheers, Big Joe. What a great bit of memorabilia that is. And this was in a Wetherspoons at the weekend. I love these football away days. That was somebody's breakfast, lads.
Oh my God.
Oh my.
That's my Saturday breakfast to get through the last game, I tell you.
We've all heard of a Ibiza final, boss. This guy was on his way to... what on earth is this? He was on the way to a Hull City game this weekend. Apparently, that's Hull City's final, boss. It's got to be a stag do, lads. Got to be a stag do. Where was this Leeds fan going?
Oh, my God.
Wembley, Leeds.
Oh, no.
And Jacob Murphy, now a major doubt for the Brighton game, apparently. Pride of the South. F off Portsmouth on the back of this Southampton minibus. And the final one for the day, lads. Brilliant, this. Who on earth would go out in a shirt like this?
That is.
Where's that? Where?
But weirdly, we need one for the show.
We do. How is that? Who is that?
That's unreal.
Brilliant
oh my
stuff.
gosh.
He's our biggest fan. That's Ken.
He is.
Our biggest fan. Thanks, everybody, sending them in. Send them to our socials for the next show.
Jeremy Beadleman still got me like.
Absolutely classic. Welcome back to a very special midweek Three's a Crowd. We are doing it because of the eve of the end of the championship. Middlesbrough can be promoted 12:30 p.m. on Saturday. It's going to be absolutely incredible scenes. So we're going to do this show to build it up, talk about it so we can get our nerves out of the way, and then we will come back and do a Three's a Crowd to review what has happened. And I will be either a crying mess either way because I'll probably have Millwall or something silly in the playoffs, or I'll be in the Premier League with these two lads absolutely sitting here in the nude with it tattooed all over my body, because it's going to be absolutely incredible if Middlesbrough find a way to get through and get it done this weekend. Let's get the lads' predictions on that right now. Teddy Boy, Steve Wraith, I want your prediction on who's going to finish second this weekend. It is between Ipswich Town, Millwall, and Middlesbrough. We need, as Middlesbrough fans, to get Ipswich Town to lose and Middlesbrough to lose. And Millwall to lose and Middlesbrough to win. We need a good goal or two to be not scored, obviously, by Wrexham as well because of our goal difference. It could hurt us if we were to, but we need to win. We need to beat Wrexham, obviously, to have any chance of doing it. Teddy Boy, coming to you, mate, first. I'm daring to dream, mate, but the realistic nature of me says that Ipswich Town do it. I mean, who have you got going up second with Coventry to join you in the big league?
You know I wanted to be Borough. You know that.
I know.
We've already spoke about that. Realistically, though, I don't see it. I think Ipswich will go up second. If Borough do go second, I don't know. I'll be over the moon for you. So I really will. You mentioned something tattooed all over your body. If you do go up second, you need to get a tattoo because you bottled my challenge earlier on in the season.
I did.
Yeah, I said if we got Europe, I would get the Adelaide Crows badge tattooed on your arse. Yeah. If Borough goes second, you're getting the Borough badge tattooed on you, the new one. Right,
I
there you go.
I have to. It's a brand new.
Right.
It's a brand new. It's a brand new logo coming in for the 150th year. I'll do it 100%.
I was saying if you finish second or if you go up.
If we go up this season, either this weekend or through the playoffs, I will get the Borough logo tattooed on me.
Right. Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
And
if you go up second, I'll consider getting the Adelaide Crows tattooed on me backside. Then.
Oh my god! And then if eventually we then have to get to play you lot in the Premier League, there's going to be some. Oh my god! There's going to be some challenges.
There's going to be some serious tattoos going on there.
There's going to be some. There's 6 derbies to look forward to. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be incredible.
Exactly.
Steve, you're
right. I haven't given the prediction yet, man.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said Ipswich. Go on then.
So Ipswich second.
Yep.
I think a playoff final will be Wrexham Borough.
Holy crap! So we're seeing the preview of the playoff final, according to you, this weekend.
I genuinely think so. Yeah,
that's going to be incredible. Steve, betting man, heart on your sleeve. Can Middlesbrough do it, or is Ipswich realistically going to do it and join you guys in the big leagues once again?
I think this weekend Ipswich will draw. I think Millwall will draw, and I think Borough will win. But that's not going to be enough to get you up. I think ultimately they'll go up on goal difference. So I think you'll do everything you can to get there, but I think Ipswich will go up on goal difference because I think there must be about 5 goals ahead of you.
There is 5 goals.
So I think unless you have a miracle, I can't see QPR beating Ipswich, but I can see both of them drawing and you winning, and that's frustrating. But yeah, I don't think you'll go up in second place. I've got to be honest. I think you've left it too little, too late.
It's going to be absolutely incredible. I obviously, heart on my sleeve, I'm a Borough fan through and through. I hope we can do it, and I believe we can do it till we can't. And then we'll see who gets in the playoffs, and we'll talk about that, and we'll pick ourselves up and go again when that inevitably happens. It's going to be very, very interesting. Let's look at your 2 teams. Obviously, you've got big games coming up on the weekend. Teddy boy, coming to you first. A trip to the Molyneux, mate. It's kind of, for me, and someone said it in the chat earlier, potentially the last time that Sunderland can actually get the points, given that the last 3 games after this one against the Wolves is Sunderland at home to Man United, Everton, a tributary to Everton, and then inviting Chelsea. God knows what Chelsea team rocks up at that stage, by the way. But 3 tough teams and tough tests after this weekend. Obviously, as we were saying in the start of the show, you've solidified in the Premier League. You've done it again. The goal was to stay in the Premier League. You've done it. What is your aim for the last 4 games of the season? What are you as a Sunderland fan hoping to see out of these last 4 games of the season?
Consistency, to be honest. I think that's what we're looking for. I think we need to go back to the basics that we were doing so well at the beginning of the season, and that's just defending very, very well as a unit. We need to get back to that. And I don't mind 4 boring games, so to speak, to finish off the season where, just limiting, either clean sheets or limited to 1 goal as we were, and just scrapping away at little bits of draws. Take a win, wait and get one, of course. But yeah, for me, I would take another 4 performances like what we saw down at Leeds United, where we were just awful to play against for 90 minutes, and a little bit like old school Wimbledon in the bit of the dark arts, putting the nasty tackles in, doing the hard work. I'd take 4 of those games, no problem whatsoever. There's no sort of fresh injury concerns in terms of the Wolves game. I think we might have a couple of players coming back. Jocelyn Tarby might be on the bench for that one. We miss wingers. That was evident in the last couple of games that we miss wide men. For me, I think we need to change the shape. If there's no wingers available for it, I think we need to go with a 5-3-2. Really, really just stack up at the back.
Against
in midfield. Yep. Yeah. Wow. Why not? There's no pressure on them now. No. They haven't been playing bad in the last month or so. So I think use this as a bit of an opportunity to try something different, and solidify. Like you've said, we've got Man United, Everton, Chelsea after that. We need to be on our game defensively for those 3, because if Nottingham Forest can stick 5 past us, so can the other 3. So we need to absolutely up our game. I'll take a 0-0 draw at Wolves now, and the same for the rest of the season.
Wowee. So your prediction is a 0-0 draw at the Molyneux?
0-0 draw, yeah.
Wow. Stevie Wraith, obviously Sunderland are 46 points, 4 points ahead of Newcastle. Tough old run past, apart from, Wolves, you would think. I think that Sunderland can get it done. I'm going for a 2-0 win at the Molyneux. I just think Rob Edwards is a rat. But apart from that, Man United, Everton, Chelsea to come for Sunderland after those three. What are your thoughts going into this weekend?
Look, for Sunderland, like I said, the flip-flops, are well and truly on, I feel. And I do think because what are they actually playing for other than finishing above Newcastle? And, there's no... The season's dead for both Newcastle and Sunderland, but people saying that Newcastle's in a relegation fight are talking rubbish. It's Spurs or West Ham. It's as simple as that. But yeah, I've watched Wolves in recent weeks. They are getting ready for the Championship, of course they are, but they are putting an effort in, and they've given some good teams some questions to think about, some difficult matches. So Sunderland capitulated against Forest at home. That's probably in my thinking with this. Spurs narrowly beat Wolves last weekend. I'm going to go for a Wolves win as well. I'm going to go for a Wolves 2-1 win.
Oh, that's going to be very interesting to see how Sunderland can hold on. I mean, Teddy boy, end of last season, we saw what the run did to Sunderland, but you managed to do it anyway. But again, it's hard when there's nothing to play for apart from finishing as high as you can in the table. But you have secured, the staying up, and that was the goal. That was the one and true the goal, and you've got there. So it'll be interesting to see Wolves taking on Sunderland. Over to Newcastle at the same time. Over in Newcastle, we'll be hosting Brighton at home. Steve, I don't think you're a relegation candidate. I don't think you're anywhere near it. But I tell you what, the talk off the pitch is just so loud. And as a Middlesbrough fan on my social media, all I keep seeing is bloody comments about Anthony Gordon. And then there's talks this week, obviously, about the worst transfer window ever being Newcastle United. I don't think that's true. I think you can look at Chelsea or look at someone else for some of these transfer windows that they've been through. But the likes of Wissa and Walter Marta and even Anthony Gordon have a big question mark hanging over their head going into these last 4 games of the season. And it starts obviously at St. James's Park again this weekend. You've lost 4 in a row now at home. Can Eddie Howe somehow change it? I mean, the performance against Arsenal, despite the defeat, was promising. And like you said, Bruno is back.
Yeah, Bruno's back. It changes the dimension of the team. Our record against Brighton is awful. We failed to beat Brighton in any of the last six League and Cup meetings at home or away. We've lost to them in the Premier League and FA Cup at Gallagher last season. Our nemesis is Danny Welbeck. Well, of course, he scored in both of those Brighton wins. Hit a brace when we played them at the Amex and lost 2-1 in October. And as you've already mentioned, we're home form at the minute is diabolical. We're looking to avoid a 5th successive defeat in the Premier League, which is something we haven't endured since back in 2021. Joe Linton's back, another plus after his 2-match suspension. And Anthony Gordon is a possible inclusion as well. He's returned to training, so that's good news. Tino Livramento isn't going to be fit, probably won't play another game this season. Fabian Shaw and Emil Kraft both still unavailable. I just think Chris Kavanagh being referee won't help us at all. He's not Newcastle United's lucky talisman as far as referees are concerned. So I think that will come into effect. But our form against these is absolutely awful. It's absolutely awful, and I don't think it's going to improve. So I will say now, I think Newcastle will lose. I think they will lose 2-1. I think that's become a norm, and I think we will get our next points against West Ham. I think that will be where we'll get our next points. We've got Forest away. It's a difficult match. Sunderland are testament to that after last week. Forest have got a bit between their teeth. Elliot Anderson will certainly want to prove a point, as will Chris Wood and all the other Newcastle United ex-players down there. But yeah, I think we'll lose. I think we'll lose 2-1, and that's despite those players coming back.
Can I just ask you, Steve, the rumours this week have been that Newcastle would be looking to offload Wissa, obviously signed for 50 mil in the summer. It hasn't worked out for Wissa this season, not to say it won't work out in the future. Are you on the side of keeping Wissa for another season to see how it goes? Or if the push came to shove and they said, Mr. Steve Wraith, we trust you, we love you, your bald head is just so superior to others, tell us what to do with Wissa. Are you selling Wissa in the summer?
I mean, we're not going to get a great deal of money for him, are we? We certainly won't get £55 million back for him. I think we might get 40 if we're lucky. He's just at the wrong club. And I don't think he's very happy either. But if our season could be summed up in one flowing move, it was that ball from Walter Marder to Wissa last week, and Wissa blazing it over the bar. That's our season, and it encapsulated in one move and failure to score goals in a position which you should be banging them in. What's that down to? Lack of action? Is it down to lack of competence? Who knows? But look, there's a lot of players are going to go. I'm hoping we can get some decent players in. It's a major transfer window for Newcastle. They have to right the wrongs of the summer, but they've also got to try and unearth some diamonds. That's what they've got to do. But yeah, I would sell Wissa here.
Wow. Teddy boy, over to you, mate. Newcastle have Brighton at home. Steve's not confident at all. Obviously, the talk this week, mate, has been about those transfers. You know, the likes of Alanga, Walter Marder, Wissa. They've spent big, and it just hasn't worked out for whatever reason. They haven't fitted into the Newcastle, scheme of things. I think Wissa and maybe the likes of Walter Marder might go. I think Walter Marder's probably got a better chance than Wissa. Give us your thoughts on those two, and if you were a betting man, if Wissa's going to be in a Newcastle shirt come the start of the season next season, and then obviously your prediction, mate, for Newcastle at home to Brighton.
Yeah, I don't think Wissa's going to be there, mate. I really don't. It's a failed one. I remember back when it was being talked about, and Steve had his reservations about that deal anyway, spending that kind of money on a guy who's, heading towards his 30s, impending as well. It wasn't the right one. It kind of almost smacked of a little bit of desperation. Perversely, they could have probably spent less than half of that money to prize Danny Welbeck away from Brighton. Look at the season he's having, man. It's absolutely... Yeah, aye. It's the best bit of business the Brighton's done is actually hold on to him. You talk about signings of the season, and Jack is there. Danny Welbeck, wow, 35, and he's the leading English goal scorer in the Premier League this season. He's a phenomenal talent, and keeps himself right. And this is the thing: there's no real ego about him, and you see the likes of Walter Marder kind of turning up in his very high fashion stuff. You see Wissa, who's just a bit too flashy without proving it first, and I don't think they've applied themselves properly. It's I'm not going to speak for Newcastle fans because they see all the games, they see a lot more of their performances than I do, but when you talk about not fit to wear the shirt, I've seen performances from them where I would be very much questioning that. Walter Marder, I have a little bit more sympathy for because I don't think he's being utilised correctly at all. If you were playing him as a false nine or a number 10 role, I think it'd be ideal for it. And he needs like a Jermaine Defoe type in front of him. And honestly, I think Newcastle would score goals for fun. It's not like that though, and I just don't think it's happening. I noticed because I was watching that really boring game with Paris Saint-Germain and Bayern Munich last night. That I think I switched it off at 0-0. I don't know what happened after that.
Defensive masterclass.
There was little bits of Bayern Munich sort of stuff popping up on my feed because obviously Facebook watches everything, and there was rumours on there from Bayern media that Anthony Gordon's agent actually met with their club officials last week. I don't know whether that sort of made it through to the English side as well. But listen, I don't think that's a big loss for you either, Steve. If he goes, the application isn't there for me. And the minute somebody stops trying, then you're better off. Whatever money you get for them is better than nothing, and you rebuild. And we've all done it. The three clubs, as we're sat here now, we've all rebuilt over time. And I honestly think Wissa, no. Walter Marder, if there's a change of system, which may mean a change of manager as well, you don't know that. It's too early to see on that one. The likes of Anthony Gordon gone as well. I think it's a tough one. I don't think you'll get beat, Steve. I think you kind of will end that little run there. But I think a nice little entertaining 2-2 draw. And I think Danny Welbeck will be all smiles again, the adopted Mackham.
He really is. Lads, before you go, I just want your prediction. Middlesbrough have just put out, obviously, the questioning of who is their player of the season. I want your player of the season for your very own club before we wrap things up here in what's been a special edition of Three's a Crowd. The season is at an end for Middlesbrough. Obviously, playoffs will continue if we were to lose this weekend and not get into second. But I need a player of the season from all of the three Northeast clubs. For me, it's Hayden Hackney. He won player of the season. I can't go past him. He has missed a large chunk of the past month or so, but with him in, I dare say that blip would have been and wouldn't have been as bad. He is that good. I think he's destined for greatness. I hope it's within our club. I hope it's in our colours. But I think Hayden Hackney, the likes of Morgan Whitaker as well, top scorer, Tommy Conway potentially in there as well. I mean, we've had some, Hayden Morris as well, I think as well. But for me, it's Hayden Hackney at Middlesbrough, player of the season. As the season comes to an end, the regular season comes to an end. Over to you, Teddy boy. We spoke about this at the start of the season. Is it who we think it's going to be for Sunderland?
Honestly, this is a really, really tough one. You've sprung this one on me a little bit as well. The obvious one is Xhaka, but there's people who should be given a bit of a special mention on that one. And the one that immediately springs to mind is somebody who was there from the start, and that's Dan Ballard. I think Dan Ballard is just progressed so nicely into Premier League football. He doesn't look out of place at all. To me, Dan Ballard looks like a future Sunderland captain. There's people saying we haven't had a centre-back like this since Charlie Hurley. Now, when Sunderland fans start using that name, they don't use it lightly at all. So I think Dan Ballard is a special mention. Obviously, the likes of Ruth Mukiele, we've had some standout performers. Brobby as well. Brobby's just developed into an absolute tank of a front man. He's still got a little way to go. Siddiqui as well. Yeah, good point, Nige. Another good performance, but not just for his performances, but for the way he's transformed the club. As Granit Xhaka has got to be our player of the season.
Stevie, we'll finish it off with Newcastle, mate. Obviously, it's been a good season. I mean, we've seen you have good runs in each of the cups, mate. There has been some good performances over the season. Who's your standout player of the season if you were to give the trophy out tomorrow?
Somebody put it in the chat exactly what I'm going to say, and that was Lewis Hall being our player of the season. It would have been Bruno had he played. He's had 12 weeks out, so it can't be Bruno. He hasn't played as many games as he would normally play. But without Bruno, we're a different team. We're not the same team. But for me, Lewis Hall has been consistent this season. Struggled to get in under Eddie Howe, but he's now got, his place in the team, and rightly so. And it was a shock when he was dropped last week. So hopefully he'll be back in the fray this weekend for the game against Brighton. But yeah, for me, player of the season, Lewis Hall.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, a special Three's a Crowd is done and dusted. We thank you so much for joining us at an unusual time on a Wednesday. We needed to get in and talk about Middlesbrough's chances of getting promoted this weekend. It all comes down to this. Can Middlesbrough do it and to get the results they need to finish second in the championship? If not, it's playoffs, and we go in hoping we can do it that way. But realistically, Middlesbrough will be in the playoffs over the month of May. Middlesbrough have got the chance still, though, somehow, some way to get into the Premier League this weekend against Wrexham. If you are travelling to Wrexham, travel safe. Have a fantastic day out, Middlesbrough fans. I'm sure you'll be there in full voice, loud as ever. And may the best team join at Coventry in the Premier League. It's going to be nerves ahoy. Over to you, Teddy boy and Steve. Thank you so much for joining us for a midweek special Three's a Crowd. We will be back potentially this weekend, if not later next week. We will be looking back at all the results that have happened. We'll be talking about that interview that Eddie Howe's gone and had with the Saudi owners, whether anything comes of that. Will Sunderland manage to get their thongs off and put their football boots back on and get back playing some good football? As Steve has said,
Steve.
Flip-flops.
Yeah.
I call them songs down in Australia. Okay, don't be weird. Thank you, lads, for joining us. Thanks for coming in for a special. And thank you, the watcher and the viewer and the listener, for being here on a special time. We do appreciate you, and we love all of the support you give to the Three's a Crowd. We love the show. We love doing it. And I love to these two lads coming in and doing it at a special time. Good luck, Borough. Please, may the football gods be with us this weekend. Good luck to Newcastle against Brighton, and good luck to Sunderland. You're going to smash Rob Edwards 6-0 because I hate him. Take care of one another. Be kind to one another. Be safe in this crazy world of ours. We will see you next time right here on Three's a Crowd.
Three's a Crowd podcast will return. That's not a threat. It's a promise.